Hi everyone, this is SK Siddhartha speaking. Today I'll be discussing the impact of tourism commercialization on cultural integrity of Bhaktapur, a UNESCO World Heritage Site renowned for its rich history and architectural beauty. So in this slide, I'm going to outline the key objectives of our study on the impact of tourism commercialization on Bhaktapur's cultural integrity. Our primary goal is to investigate how commercialization affects both the cultural heritage output and the efficiency of preserving genuine cultural representation in Bhaktapur. We aim to uncover both the positive and negative consequences of this commercialization process. First, we want to understand the dual impact of commercialization, how it can sometimes enhance economic opportunities while also potentially undermining the authenticity of cultural practices. By examining these effects, we can get a clearer picture of the trade offs involved. Second, our study seeks to develop a strategy that strikes a balance. We want to find a way to promote tourism in Bhaktapur that not only boosts economic benefits but also ensures the preservation of its unique cultural heritage. To achieve these objectives, we have designed a quantitative approach using semi-structured surveys. So this method allows us to gather detailed insights from various local residents, providing a comprehensive view of the impact of commercialization. So in essence, our research aims to provide actionable recommendations that can help Bhaktapur manage tourism growth while safeguarding its cultural legacy. Our first article is Revisiting Kathmandu, Safeguarding Living Urban Heritage. So this book delves into the challenges and strategies involved in preserving the dynamic cultural heritage of urban Kathmandu, particularly in the face of increasing tourism commercialization. So it emphasizes the importance of maintaining the living traditions and practices that define the city's cultural identity. So the author argues that while tourism can provide economic benefits, it also poses risks to the authenticity of cultural expressions. They call for a balanced approach that integrates heritage conservation with sustainable tourism practices to ensure that Kathmandu's cultural vibrancy is not only maintained but also celebrated. And our next article is Enhancing Vitality or Compromising Integrity, Festival Tourism and the Complexities of Performing Culture, authored by Smith and Forrest. This chapter explores the dual nature of festivals in the context of tourism. On one hand, festivals can invigorate local cultures by providing a platform for traditional expressions and economic benefits. On the other hand, the commercialization of these events can lead to loss of cultural authenticity, transforming genuine cultural practices into mere performance for tourist consumption. The authors highlights the complexity of maintaining cultural integrity while harnessing the economic potential of tourism, suggesting that careful management and community involvement are key to navigating these challenges. Our final article is Cultural Guardianship in Tourism, Indigenous Communities' Quest for Economic Stability and Identity Preservation by Sailesh and Reddy. This article examines how indigenous communities engage in tourism to achieve economic stability while striving to preserve their cultural identities. It discusses the concept of cultural guardianship, where communities take an active role in managing their cultural resources and ensuring that tourism development aligns with their values and traditions. The authors provide case studies illustrating successful examples of this approach, where economic benefits from tourism are balanced with efforts to maintain cultural heritage. This work underscores the importance of empowering local communities to control the narrative and impact of tourism on their cultural landscape. I will be discussing our research focused on two key questions related to the impact of tourism commercialization on Bhaktapur's cultural integrity. First, we aim to understand the perception of local residents regarding the impact of tourism commercialization on Bhaktapur's cultural integrity. This involves exploring how the community views the changes brought about by increased tourism and whether they believe it enhances or detracts from their cultural heritage. So, going through semi structured surveys, we gather insights into the experiences, concerns, and hopes for the future. Secondly, we investigate how tourism commercialization affects the preservation of traditional cultural practices and heritage sites in Bhaktapur. This includes examining the balance between economic benefits and the potential loss of authenticity in cultural expressions. We look at how commercial pressures might alter traditional ceremonies, crafts, and the maintenance of historic sites. So, by addressing these questions, our research seeks to provide a comprehensive understanding of the complex dynamics at play in Bhaktapur, aiming to develop strategies that support both economic growth and cultural preservation. So I chose the survey questionnaire method for my study because it allows me to gather detailed and diverse insights directly from the local residents of Bhaktapur. This method is effective in capturing the perception, providing quantitative data that can be systematically analyzed. By using semi-structured surveys, we can ensure that while we have consistent data for comparison, so this approach is crucial for understanding the complex impact of tourism commercialization on cultural integrity and for developing balanced strategies that respect both economic and cultural needs. For this pilot study on the impact of tourism commercialization on Bhaktapur's cultural integrity, I utilized a comprehensive approach to ensure a thorough and ethical research process. To begin with, I went through several educational videos on survey design and pilot studies. These resources, such as the YouTube guides on creating Google Form surveys and analyzing survey results, were instrumental in shaping the structure and content of our questionnaire. I also reviewed past research papers and relevant texts to gain insights into effective survey methodologies and the specific cultural context of Bhaktapur. This background research helped in crafting questions that are both relevant and respectful of the local heritage. Discussions with community members helped us tailor our survey to address the most pressing issues faced by Bhaktapur's residents. Ethical factors were taken into consideration at each stage of the study. I ensured that all participants were informed about the study's purpose and their rights, providing clear and detailed consent forms to obtain their voluntary participation. And finally, I used Google Forms to create and distribute the survey. This tool was user friendly and efficient for collecting responses, allowing us to reach a wide audience and gather data seamlessly. So these steps collectively ensured that our pilot study was well prepared and positioned to yield meaningful insights. In this slide, I'd like to walk you through the key areas our survey will cover. First, we'll explore commercialization, where we can understand the current level of commercialization and the types of commercial activities taking place in Bhaktapur. Next, we'll focus on cultural integrity, where we can understand how these commercial activities are impacting historical buildings and traditional practices. Our third area is community perception, on where the question is concerned about how local residents perceive these changes and how they feel about their cultural identity. And the fourth, we'll look at sustainability, where we aim to gather insights on the efforts being made towards sustainable practices and how these are prioritized in the community. Finally, I address the overall balance between economic benefits and the preservation of cultural heritage. Striking this balance is essential to ensure that Bhaktapur thrives economically without compromising its cultural integrity. The data that is gathered from my survey questionnaire is shown in this pie chart and bar graph. From survey results, we see that the current level of commercialization is predominantly moderate, as indicated by 40% of respondents. A significant portion perceive it as high at 30%, while 20% and 10% see it as low and very low, respectively. The primary types of commercial activities identified are restaurants and cafes, which make up 50%, followed closely by tour guides and travel agencies at 40%, and souvenir shops at 10%. This highlights the vibrant mix of services catering to tourists. Moving to cultural integrity, the impact on historical building has been slightly improved for 90% of the cases, showing a positive trend towards preservation amidst commercialization. However, 10% reported no impact, indicating some areas remain unaffected. And regarding the loss of traditional practices, 60% of respondents believe commercialization has not led to a loss, while 40% feel it has. This mixed response underscores the need for careful management of cultural elements. Community perception shows that the majority of locals, 80%, have a positive view of commercialization, with 20% being neutral. However, 70% of respondents believe it is altering the cultural identity of Bhaktapur Daba Square, while 30% do not share this concern. This split opinion suggests a nuanced perspective among the community on the changes brought by tourism. In terms of sustainability, efforts towards sustainable tourism are rated as good by 50%, fair by 30%, and excellent by 20%. The focus on sustainable practices is primarily on preserving traditional crafts and community involvement in tourism planning, making up to 50%. This is followed by efforts to limit commercial activities in heritage areas at 30% and promoting eco friendly tourism at 20%. These efforts indicate a strong commitment to balancing economic benefits with cultural preservation. Overall, the economic benefits of commercialization are clear, with 70% of respondents noting increased revenue for local business. Job creation and investment in infrastructure and public services are highlighted by 30% and 10%, mention funding for cultural preservation projects. This economic boost is essential for the community's development. Most respondents, 66.7%, feel the balance between commercialization and preservation is well managed, through 33.3% find it either neutral or lacking. This feedback emphasizes the importance of ongoing efforts to maintain this balance. In conclusion, while commercialization brings significant economic benefits, it is crucial to continue focusing on sustainable practices and community involvement to preserve the rich cultural heritage of Bhaktapur Double Square. Speaking about my field notes, all in all, the survey went well. The clear structure of a question made it relatively easy to administer. However, analyzing the flow of responses posed a significant challenge. I focused our survey questions on key areas such as commercialization, cultural integrity, community perception, and sustainability. This approach ensured that we gathered comprehensive insights, but it also highlighted the complexity of interpreting diverse and nuanced feedbacks from the participants. Reflecting on my learning experience through this pilot study, I've identified several key areas for improvement and future growth. Firstly, I plan to enhance our survey designs by incorporating repetitive testings and feedbacks. This process will help me refine my questions and ensure they effectively capture the necessary data. Secondly, I aim to develop better strategies for scaling up my research efforts. This involves maintaining high data quality and keeping participants engaged even as we expand the scope of our surveys. Balancing these aspects is crucial for the success of larger studies. Lastly, I intend to seek more training in advanced data analysis techniques. Gaining deeper expertise in this area will allow me to interpret our findings more accurately and provide more meaningful insights. Overall, these steps will help me improve my research methodologies and contribute to more effective and impactful studies in the future. Finally, this is my last part of the presentation. Thank you all for your time and attention today. I deeply appreciate your interest and support. Have a wonderful day.